Welcome to The Chosen One. I'm your host, Qui-Gon Din, and I am just walking to work, and I figured I'd do a little bit of meta spotlight. We got LVO going on right now. They're in the middle of their 3-mirror tournament. We got their Swiss rounds done, and so we know, like, the top 8. And the top 8 is pretty standard, per se, I'd look. We got 4 Canaans, or not 4 Canaans, we got 4 Cassians in there. So Cassian is still doing exactly what he wants to do. Boss showed up at this event. Half of Top Cut is Boss. We will see if Boss can end up winning the whole thing or not. There was a cool run of Padme. Ashley gave it her all. It was cool. She started off, when I paid attention, she ended up going 2-0 in the first 2 rounds. And kind of petered after that, but she ended her day with a 3-2 after Swiss, so still fairly good record. Padme Boss is an interesting matchup, but interesting pairing. It's not something I would have especially full Padme box. I definitely want to watch the game. Omnis is going to have it on his channel. For me, my perspective of seeing what that list can do, it's a heavy wounding list with a lot of movement. But it definitely strikes me as very much a glass cannon, even more so than Hunter Boss, which Hunter Boss is great, but it is a little bit of a glass cannon when stuff starts going down. It kind of becomes unmanageable with your force economy. I do think there is a competitive place for Padme. I'm just not sure if you take her with her whole box or not. I think it's definitely something to watch out for. I think the Padme Pawn 7 Scorch list is going to be something that I think is worth exploring. You might have to build it a very specific way. Mace is already kind of in discussion. There's a couple people discussing the Mace Padme list with this setup. I'm one of them. I'll be having Tobias on my podcast at some point to talk about that. We are planning on doing an episode about that. He's been playing the list. I've been testing Pawns and 7 Scorch in a ton of different places now. I've done quite a few games with that under Kit, and I really like what Kit Fisto's bringing, but the issue I have with Kit is he's very selfish. Padme is my current testing block with the Pawn 7 Scorch package because I really like Pawns with 7 Scorch. The forward deployment really allows them to just do more work. But we got 2 Rift Hampson lists made top cut. Chris Hampson, his Rift Mando list that he came up with, he is in the event. I believe he is facing off against Hunter in Top Cut on Sunday. Hunter from Clan of 2, so that'll be a fun match to pay attention to. Overall, Top Cut, there's nothing really surprising. We do got a Vader Iden list that Chris is also piloting. It's Jedi Hunter with Iden. That list is really cool. It's definitely my thing that Vader 1 is the best Vader in the meta currently. And that's either paired with some Empire tech or Republic tech. I think that Vader solves a lot of the meta right now in terms of what he can counter. He is an aggro option to go against boss lists and other Empire. So if you can play Jedi Hunter, I do think it's a good call right now. He is not he's in a very good spot because he can boost up your team. And right now, with the lack of shooty, killy, as game as it used to be, melee has gone back to being the dominant aggressor, I want to say, in terms of actually doing the meta in terms of actually doing like the straight up aggression. I think melee is where it's at, and we're kind of seeing that with things like Vader Jedi Hunter and of the like. So yeah, overall pretty interesting meta. It's still fairly diverse. Rebels are still doing their thing. As for predictions at what's going to win it, mathematically based on what's in Top Cut, I'd want to say it's either going to be Boss or Cassian. The Boss has finally taken off. People finally kind of started figuring him out. He was a little bit more complicated than a lot of us thought out the gate, but I think he is going to be kicking off a lot of events. He's going to be a primary to really watch out for, and people are going to have to figure out how to beat him. And really, the way to beat him is murder things. Murder Fixer, Murder 7 Scorch. Try to mess up their force economy so that way they're on an even playing field. The boss lists have a lot of gas out the gate, so if you can stick in there and take it back after struggle 1, because struggle 1 is going to be extremely in Boss's favor. The list is really good at scoring, and it brings enough punch that you really need to hit its force economy. So yeah, very, very good. I'm kind of hoping Riff wins it. I think a Riff Tamsin winning the event would be really cool. But it's cool that we saw that Riff is still doing his thing. Riff has made a very, very good showing since his release. I think he's gotten 1 or 2 tops at every GT since his release. And he is a primary that really, really benefits supports. So if you're definitely going to see him a lot with Mandos, I think, a lot with Cassian, a lot with Mando, Armorer. I think there's going to be a ton of places where you can play him and really, really leverage his ability to jump on the points. The Armorer list in particular gets kind of interesting with him when you got covert Mandalorians that you can put in there. And coverts are really killy, really good. I think coverts are the payoff for Mandos. So Riff Tamsin's in a good spot. Obi-Wan made a couple of appearances. We got Tukey at a Moondies in Top Cut. So Mundi is still doing his thing. He's still hanging in there. I think he's definitely dropped a fair considerable bit. I think Anakin is no longer even in question for is he a dominant primary or not. I think Andor, I think Boss just kind of eat Anakin's lunch, and he did not have a good showing at LVO. We got 1 Mace in Top Cut, which isn't surprising. Mace is he's a piece that does really well, but he's not doing anything above the curve. I really like Mace, but he is the perfect epitome of fair and balanced. So yeah, this has just been kind of a slight look at the meta. I'll have a more in-depth list breakdown where I go over all the lists for LVO in my Meta Spotlight video. I'll also be doing a Meta Spotlight for the Force Convergence GT that's going on right now. And that's going to be interesting.